Last person to urinate wins this brand new Nintendo Wii. Everyone here has drank at least a gallon of water, including me. My piss is at the brim. All the contestants must hold their urine in as long as they can while continuing to drink water. If someone gets up to use the bathroom, they're gone. If someone pees their pants, they're out of here. This guy right here looks like he's gonna die. Hold your Wii for a Wii. You get it? Because it's a play on words. You need to understand. No one can leave.
Jennifer, I heard that you're not doing too well.
My head hurts. They keep telling me that it's the water, that it'll tell my head to hurt and then it'll make me puke, but
Who told you that, the intern?
yeah.
That's one of those over there?
Like, it hurts, but it makes you feel lightheaded, so I'm not sure if I'm just like...
This is what it feels like when you're drowning. There's a lot of water inside of you.
Oh, it hurts.
The year is 2007, and I'm sure if you remember 2007 like I do, it was a hell of a year. A deceased man by the name of Stephen Jobs had heterosexual three-way with a smartphone and an MP3 player, and the iPhone was conceived. Chris Brown performs at the MTV Music Awards featuring Rihanna. MySpace was reigning supreme. Good lord, Spider-Man 3 was the most popular film at the time. Chocolate Rain, High School Musical Dos, Dear Maria Count Me In, Soulja Boy Tell 'Em, Guitar Hero 3, Legends of Rock. But seriously, the story we're talking about today it's pretty fucked up. A California radio station, KDND, was hosting a competition over live airwaves on January 12th of 2007. The rules were to drink copious amounts of water without urinating. And the illustrious prize was meant to be a brand new Nintendo Wii. It sounds fun, but if you don't already know, there is such thing as drinking too much water. Like you may know of alcohol intoxication, but there's water intoxication as well. Scientifically speaking, the excess amounts of water dilutes the sodium in the blood. This can flood the cells with fluid and even cause the cells in the brain to become flooded. This will cause your brain to swell, overwhelming pressure in your cabeza. Personally, I used to wake up and consume an entire gallon of water over the first couple hours of the day. I was never thinking about the effects of drinking too much water. The most severe cases of water intoxication can lead to death. KDND, or 107.9 The End, was a pop rock radio station that had a morning show in 2007. This show was called The Morning Rave. You know, this radio station's known for having these types of competitions and, you know, on-air banter and just, you know, making fun of people while they have them on air. But even though this radio station already drew in a large audience, they wanted to find another way to up the ante. Now the Wii was popping at this time. Nintendo had trouble keeping up with the demand. This new motion control thing where you could be active and play video games. Obviously parents would jump on this and it would be a way to bond with their family. Especially kids that, you know, sat inside and just played video games and were antisocial and didn't talk to anybody. The Wii brought your family together, and if you weren't playing right if you didn't accidentally hurl your Wii controller into your living room TV.
You can see right here, I'm getting ready to serve. All I do is throw that ball up in the air, and when oh, jeez, and there goes the tennis racket.
So that intro in the beginning there that I did wasn't actually a joke. The contest is actually called Hold Your Wii for a Wii. A little after 6 a.m. on January 12th, 1997. Wait, 2007. 18 contestants show up to the KDND studio, pre-dehydrated. You see, these guys had earned a spot in the competition by calling in and giving their worst Christmas gift story. So these were stories that were chosen as the worst of the worst. And if you told a bad story on air, they picked you for this competition. You had frat boys, fathers, mothers, and amongst these 18 contestants was one woman by the name of Jennifer Strange, a 28-year-old woman who had the desire to win this WII. She was truly determined. So Jennifer and the 17 other contestants were led to a dark corner of the studio. No, they were led to a very well-lit break room. 6:45 a.m. hits and the contest begins. Diving into the specifics of this contest, every 15 minutes, the host would come in, or somebody like an intern or somebody who worked at the studio would come in with 8-ounce bottles of water for them to drink. And what's fucked up about this whole competition is how you would get out. So you would be eliminated if the water that they brought in was not drank at a timely manner. Another reason that you could be eliminated was if you vomited. Also, if you went to the bathroom. That's another way that you could get eliminated. But that wasn't like the worst thing. Okay, like actually vomiting or not being able to, chug water fast enough. That made things exponentially worse. So every now and again, these hosts would come barging in, and they would walk in the room, and they would give them more water, and they would sort of make fun of these people, and they would take them one by one as they're going through this experience, bring them into the studio, and ask them questions live on air, describe their feelings and their experience with this whole competition. What's fucked up is they would actually make fun of them. They would make fun of their discomfort on air. I mean, sure, these hosts seem naive, but you gotta remember, this is 2007. It's a different time, okay? It's just a different time. We didn't know shit back then, alright? This is where the situation becomes even more uncomfortable. You see, the public was allowed to call in on this competition live. You had people driving to work, you had people listening to their radios at work or at home. One such caller happened to be a practicing nurse, and she warned these hosts of the dangers of consuming this amount of water and the dangers of not being able to urinate, not being able to deposit this water. But guess what? It's 2007, bitch. No one knew a fucking thing, or at least no one cared. That's what it seemed like. It just seemed like no one gave a fuck. So the host had this response. This is what one of the hosts actually said to the caller on air. They responded, "Hey, everything's fine. We got them to sign waivers. So the responsibility on us is alleviated if someone dies." That's fucked. They're like, hey, if someone is actually in pain or actually hurting or someone is gonna die, they would just vomit the water back up. Of course you're not gonna choose to die. You would just vomit. What makes it worse is the hosts actually admit that they understand that someone can die from this. They fully understand the amount of suffering that these people are going through. And they even reference someone who had died from this certain thing before. They bring up the case of Matthew Carrington, a 22-year-old man who actually died from this exact activity. Now, what happened to him is that his fraternity, he was trying to get in this fraternity, right? And of course, new recruits have to go through a little hazing period. And one of the particular things that they had to do for this hazing was to have him drink a whole bunch of water without urinating, and he died. And these people were charged. Everyone involved was charged up to a year in prison. Also, one of the men encouraged other people. His statement in court was to encourage people to never do this. One of these hosts even jokes over at a guy saying that he's about to die, and then another host chimes in and says, make sure he signs the waiver first. But hey, the contest must go on. But some contestants begin dropping out, not actually dying. They're not like falling over dying from the water, okay? Because at this point, the hosts actually come in with larger bottles of water, and people are just like, oh hell no, that's it, I'm gone, I'm not doing this anymore. They just said fuck it. They're like, they had already drank. At this point, most of them had already drank over 1.5 gallons of water, and it's been less than an hour, because they kept increasing the amounts of water, because they thought 8 ounces every 15 minutes was not enough. Jennifer Strange, after hours in the competition and witnessing another man aggressively vomit in front of her, decides she's done. She's out of the competition. She's leaving, but not just yet. She makes her way to the bathroom and finally allows herself to urinate. She stumbles from the bathroom out into the hallway where an intern leads her into the studio for her final thoughts on the competition. So she's groggy, she's barely able to see anything, everything's a little hazy. She's walking into the studio, bright lights everywhere, and they start asking her questions, and she responds that she has a headache, a severe one. These hosts bring her in and they comment on her distended stomach, and they start to, say she looks pregnant. What's worse is that she didn't actually know anything was wrong with her. She didn't think anything was wrong with her at all. Because one of the interns had encouraged her the whole way that if anything was going wrong inside her body would react and just vomit. If she had in fact drank too much water, she would simply throw it back up. Jennifer didn't even win the competition. She came very close. She was actually the runner-up. As Jennifer is leaving the studio, she calls her coworker and lets her know that she is going home because she's exhausted and she feels like absolute trash, and she's just letting her know, hey, I'm not coming into work. I'm gonna go home and rest. The term for low sodium level in the blood is called hyponatremia, and now Jennifer was suffering from the early stages of this condition. She only had hours to live. Jennifer had a overwhelming buildup of water surrounding her blood cells in her brain. This was from consuming over 2 gallons of water within a 2-hour span. Now, the kidneys can only process at most, especially an individual like her, 1 liter of water an hour. Within an hour of Jennifer arriving at her home, she was dead. The morning rave was taken off the air, and anyone involved was fired. Jennifer's family was awarded $16 million in a civil suit case against the KD&D parent company, Entercom. Even though no one there was forced to do this, the radio station was still negligent, and even including those little snippets of the audio showing that these hosts actually understood what was happening made it even worse. So nobody was actually charged in this, but everybody was fired. Jennifer was determined to win this WII, for the sole reason of giving it to her 3 children, which now didn't have a mother. And what was the prize for runner-up? What was the prize for death? Two Justin Timberlake tickets. That's not funny. Somebody died. I don't even know why I'm laughing at that.